quite a lot of fuel being dumped on the West Ham search for a striker fire. I believe late yesterday evening it was ex-West Ham United employee who did an update on the striker situation. He said that West Ham were looking for a striker who had a good blend of potential, a good blend of price. Let me just get this right. And quality. Price, potential and quality, a blend of those three, which I would imagine rules out Ivan Toney, who was being discussed at length only the day before. So that's really, really interesting. Before we get on to who might be coming in, the story, in case you don't know it, of Danny Ings was probably, I think, possibly the biggest news of yesterday. And it was that Danny Ings had been offered a route out of West Ham to Southampton. Obviously, he's played there before. And he said no. Not only that West Ham had offered Southampton to subsidise his wages. Now, he often gets quoted of having wages over £100,000 a week. I don't think they are that. In fact, the club have leaked that they're not. And listen, the club do leak a lot of wages stuff, and I wouldn't particularly disbelieve them on this one. They're high though. I do believe they're in the £80,000 to £90,000 a week range. And for a club like Southampton, it's a lot of money, so it's a lot of financial burden to carry, isn't it? Well, it is for anybody. So I don't know what it is, but maybe we've offered to pay 30 of it or 40 of it. Anyway, it's a moot point because Ings turned round and said no. Now, let me get this absolutely straight. I don't blame him. Not in the least. Why should he? Yeah, look, he signed for the club. We gave him the contract, and that's it. I'll go back to what I said before. I don't know why West Ham signed Danny Ings. It was quite clear that he was never going to play any significant part in David Moyes' plans. He is the least David Moyes striker you're ever likely to see. I think Moyes liked him. I think Moyes liked his attitude. But he was never going to fit into that lone striker system. Not in a month for Sunday, and particularly not one that is so reliant on, a bit of pace and energy on the counter-attack. That's just not Danny Ings. For all these sort of fox-in-the-box finishing qualities, it's not him. He can't do it. So I don't know why he was signed, but I've always maintained I don't know why Danny Ings himself signed the deal. He supposedly left Aston Villa because under Unai Emery, he wasn't being utilised. It was Ollie Watkins who was being utilised as a sole striker. He wanted more football, so he came to West Ham. Look, someone's mucked up here, really, haven't they? Let's be perfectly frank. But what they don't, the two things don't fit together. Danny Ings leaving Aston Villa in search of more first-team football, but now refusing to join Southampton. So I can only assume between him leaving Aston Villa and now, he's not bothered about it. The first team football thing was important then, it's not important now. And he's on such high wages, why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he just pick up his wages? He seems to be a really good guy to have around the training ground. Everybody seems to like him. I even noticed the other day there was a picture of Julen Lopetegui giving him a cuddle. So, why not? And you don't even know. Maybe, just maybe, Lopetegui said, I'll give you a chance. And I think he said he'll give everyone a chance. And so he should. He should give everybody a chance. And you've heard this about Flynn Downes as well, haven't you? Flynn Downes apparently come back. He's spoken to the manager, and at the point where there was quite close to a deal being sanctioned to take him back to Southampton, I don't know how true this is, but Downes said, well, hold on, I'll hold your horses. If I'm going to get a chance, I quite fancy myself here. I'd like to prove myself. So maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what's happened with Danny Ings. What I would speculate, though, is that we're going to find it very, very difficult to bring in another striker and then for Danny Ings to get any more game time. I think even just with Antonio standing in his way, it's hard for Danny Ings to get game time. I don't know what's going to happen with Jarrod Bowen, whether he's going to be played on the right wing, whether he's going to be deployed more as a forward. Don't know. But all I would say is, if Danny Ings wasn't getting much football last season, I would imagine he'll get less now. Less games, no European football, and apparently we're buying another striker. So unless I've got my maths wrong, that's Antonio, the new striker we bring in, and Jarrod Bowen, all in front of Danny Ings. He doesn't want to leave. Maybe, just maybe, as somebody suggested, he doesn't want to leave and doesn't want to go to Southampton. I can't see that. I really can't. I don't know. Look, Danny Ings is from Winchester, not a million miles from Southampton. If you know your geography there, he was very happy at Southampton. Good club to be at as well. I can't imagine location and football plays any part of it. It's not like he's going to be holding out for Arsenal to come in or anything like that either. So I can only assume that he he's happy. Maybe he's just happy. He's settled at West Ham, and actually playing football is not that big a deal for him at the moment. And you know what? That's fine. Listen, more fool us for giving him the contract. Quite frankly, bearing in mind he was never going to play very much, and I used to say more fool Danny Ings for signing the deal, but he's clearly quite happy with the contract. So look, hey. And we were always very silly. I made this point the other day. If what we were banking on was selling players that were going to be hard to get rid of to basically fill our transfer fund, then that was always going to be a risky strategy. Same with Kurt Zouma. Relying on somebody coming and buying Kurt Zouma for decent money, it's unlikely. That's what I think. I'm not saying nobody will come and get him, but we are. It's almost like Jack Wilshere's situation again, maybe with Danny Ings, whereby it's going to cost the club a lot, probably, to get rid of him. And we may have to pay up the majority of his contract to do so. Anyway, so that's that. The other two big names that were linked, one more so than the other, Dominic Solanke, which we will... it's hard to say. Just go back to what X said, so I'll read it again. A good mix of price, quality and potential. It's funny, the first time I read it, I misread the price. I read that as pace. Look, pace, quality and potential. Oh, that's good, isn't it? But a pace, but he didn't say pace, a price. Good mix of price, quality and potential. And it's hard. It's really hard. I'm going to be kind because I actually think Solanke had a good season last year. It's hard to say that his price would be good. And then you're not talking about potential, aren't we? I mean, what's he, 26, 27 now? And obviously someone that's obviously a little bit older than him is Ivan Toney, who, of course, hat-trick penalty hero from the other night against Switzerland for England, of course. He's 29 at the start of next year. Whatever you pay for Ivan Toney, you ain't getting your money back, right? It's as simple as that, basically. And look, Brentford wanted 100 million. They're never going to get that. I think even at 50 million, it is expensive. So it depends. His wages become very, very important in that. So again, what a mix of price? No. Quality? Yes. Potential? No. How can he have potential? He's about to be he's 29. I think it's February or March. He's 29. So. Yeah, I mean, I can only assume, judging by this update, that it's neither of those two, which means it's somebody else. So that's I guess that's a good thing. I don't get me wrong, I'd quite like either one of those. I think would do really, really well for West Ham. I really do, and we know that Lopetegui likes Toney. That much we know because we was basically lavishing him with praise, wasn't he, when he was Wolves manager? And there was one particular interview which I haven't seen for a while now, but when we were linked to Lopetegui and people were sort of suggesting and trying to guess which strikers we might get, then certainly I saw it resurface and I saw it sort of churned over and sort of shared a number of times. This interview that he gave, it was either a post-match or pre-match interview for Wolves, and he was saying what a great player Ivan Toney was. So look, hey. Whether there's anything in that, whether there's not, I don't know. But we definitely need a striker. And I've got to say, over the last couple of days, there was, I guess some of it was just Jared Bowen being pictured chatting or doing some exercises, doing some stretches with England next to Ivan Toney. That maybe there was no interest there at all. But what's clear is that Lopetegui wants his players. He wants his players in as quickly and as early as possible for pre-season training. What it would suggest, though, is there's no reason why, if we wanted Solanke could just be signed. If it wasn't a money thing, sign him, he gets in for pre-season training. Maybe it would explain, quite possibly, maybe it is Ivan Toney. Because even if Lopetegui did want to sign him, and he wanted him to start pre-season training, he couldn't do it now anyway, because he's still away with England.